Welcome to Dr. Akmal Makhdum's YouTube channel. He is a psychiatrist, social commentator, and author. We are continuing our conversation about the heinous crime of the rape of the mother of three on the motorway. Now let's continue. There are some protests taking place. We'll be talking about the justice element and the politicization of the situation, but let's talk about that first. What are your thoughts on those?
The first aspect is that in a living city of Lahore, a mother with three small children goes out of the poshest of neighborhoods, goes onto a motorway, and the car gets stuck, and she's subjected to the most heinous, humiliating crime that any woman can experience, and her three children along with her. Now, it is important that such crimes are highlighted because such crimes reflect that society. If you do not highlight them, and if you just suppress them or shove them under the carpet, then the society does not see its weaknesses. It doesn't look itself in the mirror. Such crimes actually are a mirror of any society. Then how do people of that society deal with those reflections is another important thing. They can first reflect by denying that it didn't happen. And if you look at social media, there's a small minority of people, which I've seen, which say it was all a conspiracy.
Oh gosh.
And it is all just a fabrication.
To make Pakistan look bad.
So whether Pakistan looked bad, whether some individual looked bad, whether the government looked bad, whether the police looked bad, or whatever.
Right.
So then there is always, in many societies, especially in societies where the external appearance means a lot, when the reality and the fact are not significant, but the perception is everything. So what's happening is that reaction is also there. Then there are people who will look at as part of a larger conspiratorial game. And because Pakistanis are conspiracy theorists, and that is also a psychological aspect that we must have, to address. We must address it sometimes. Why is it that Pakistanis are constantly looking at conspiracies? Why is everything a conspiracy? So that is also something that people have started to talk about. And in social media and even in mainstream media, people have come up with various forms of conspiracies.
But are these the main things that are taking over the conversation?
They are fringe but significant.
Right.
Then there is the other aspect, which is you mentioned about victim blaming. And there were these reactions, or the first reaction came from one of the senior police officers who said, as part of an overall interview in which he looked at all other aspects, but I think something that was very unfortunate and extremely out of place and extremely insensitive was the same male attitude. Why would a mother of three by herself drive the car? Why not take this route and why took that route? Why would she do this? Now, that is, I would say, asinine, to say the least. And I think that because senior officials have not really been trained in sensitivity and not trained in basic ethics and morality and humanity, I think they just shoot from the hip. So the first thing was the same misogynistic attitude was, why would a woman drive in the middle of the night? Why would she not check her fuel gauge? I haven't checked my fuel gauge 50 times. Many people do that. Every time you go on a petrol pump, there are one or two people with cans in their hands trying to get fuel. This is a common occurrence. But the point is that these are not things to be said. Somebody has been subjected to a crime. And that cannot be the most sensitive thing to be said, oh, well, you shouldn't have done it. So the thing is that when one of the parliamentarian ladies was talking about not being defined as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, but as a woman, because nobody is talking about a woman. They're talking of, oh, she was somebody's wife. Once again, a male focus. Or she was somebody's mother. Once again, a male focus. Or she was somebody's mother. Once again, a male focus. So the utility of the woman is that she is only useful if she's a mother, a wife, and sister or whatever. So she has to have some form of a reference for importance and existence. So what it suggests is that the 50% of the people in the eyes of the males in this society are relevant only because they are mothers, sisters, wives, daughters, not because they're women. And that is where the most important principle of this lies. And when this parliamentarian was saying that in the parliament, and she said that it must be men who cannot control themselves who should be confined to home, all the men started laughing, including the Speaker of the National Assembly. And it was a most shameful, absolutely pathetic show of misogyny and disrespect. So what I'm trying to say is that, to me, that suggests that the whole place requires basic education in humanity, basic education in trying to understand what women are. Why is it that women are badly treated in Pakistan? For these reasons.
But people will contest that and say, well, they're respected, they're allowed to cut in lines, they are given the utmost respect in the nation.
Well, that is not really shown by the thousands of acid attacks, gang rapes, general rapes for humiliation.
It's called femicide? Femicide?
Well, no, that doesn't happen in Pakistan as much as happens in India,
right?
Where girls are killed at the very infanticide, female infanticide. Right. But it's a huge problem in India. It's not as much a problem, or I haven't heard about it, or maybe it's one of those hidden things we don't know. But the thing is that the population does not reflect it, and there is no shortage of girls in Pakistan.
Right.
Now, the other thing is that what I see is that these attitudes are extremely entrenched. And these attitudes, it's not that you show respect by allowing a woman to come in the fore, but the attitude is, how many women do you have in the police force? The Punjab police force is 170,000 people. 3,000 are police women. So, how many civil servants do you have in Pakistan? How many members of parliament do you have in Pakistan who are women? How many...
Well, they pride themselves on the fact they put, I think, aside 60 seats in the parliament.
Well, the thing is that,
something like that.
The reserve seats.
Reserve seats.
Reserve seats don't really matter.
Yeah.
The real crux of the matter is that in the general scenario, the women have massive problems.
Right. So now, and that's another attitude I wanted to highlight and just get your thoughts on the fact that, you know, with this minister who commented on why did she leave, even when I was working in Pakistan, policeman, what said why did she leave? Because the concept in itself, well, this was within Islamabad, decent girls don't leave the house. They stay at home.
Now, that's the problem. The problem is that there are so many historical, religious, social factors which have not been challenged.
Right.
Nobody's challenged the fact that religion does not prohibit women from participating in life. Nobody's challenged it frontally that it is the old cultural behavior which suppresses women, the caste system, the class system, that the women of the upper classes are held in high respect and the women of the lower classes are treated like beneath humanity. So what I would say is that I have looked at this all my life, being part of that and being part of a family which tried to analyze it all the time and discussed it. I think that the core problem is the feudal mindset, the feudalistic mentality, the feudal attitude, because that is actually which causes corruption in the whole psyche of society. In the caste system, which is of course termed as the feudal system in our country, because the caste system is in our neighborhood, but of course we also have many castes and they are also extremely discriminatory, and there's a great deal of hubris about castes in our society as well, and that is which is similar between the two neighboring countries. Feudal mentality gives credence and value to those who are in power. Those who are not in power are only slaves or dispensable. So the value of life for the powerful is far more than the value of life for somebody who is not powerful. And when that is the case, it is the powerful who controls society. The laws are made around the powerful for the protection of the powerful. The laws are made to protect the interests of the powerful. So if you steal a car, you'll go to jail for longer. But if you steal a bicycle, you will go to jail for a shorter period of time.
So how does this link into the situation on the motorway?
Because the thing is that those people who committed this crime had committed these crimes many times before, had been arrested many times before, but because the victims weren't powerful, the judges kept on releasing them. The same person who committed this crime, it is said in the newspapers, had committed a similar crime only a few days earlier and was on bail.
Oh, wow.
Now, because he hadn't committed that crime on a very rich and powerful or part of a vocal faction of society, it was in a village, he did it to a mother and a daughter.
Gosh.
So there you go. The judge releases him on bail. That kind of a person who had done it before as well. So all I'm trying to say is that that is what the feudal mindset does. And what happens is that, okay, society has the feudal mindset, but the government, the people's representatives, are selected by the people, and they have to have this idea that they must serve the
Majority.
and grassroots as well. Okay, you cannot fight the powerful. Okay, don't fight them, but at least bring a degree of parity in law. Right? Within hours, this guy was arrested. Whereas he committed these crimes before, he got released. He committed this crime before, he got bailed. But this time, he's not going to get bail.
I want him to be executed.
Well, I don't think so, because, everybody's saying that he shouldn't be. But any other, the two or one or two people who were involved directly and indirectly have already been arrested. So they are in custody. But the thing is, what you just raised, this point is very significant. The majority of the people want him executed as a extrajudicial, police killing.
Like as a deterrent for them.
Okay, now
For
that's
their communities.
the point. No, but that is what is voting, for the judicial system with your feet.
Okay.
Because that shows that the society and the people of this country do not have any faith in the judicial system to do justice. And why is that? Because the judicial system is also feudal in nature, feudal in attitude. And judicial system will serve and treat those with power with kid gloves, but will be extremely harsh and totally inconsiderate of the weak and those who do not make news.
Right.
So that is where the real problem lies. So that is why people say, oh, kill him and get it over with. That is how, but the point is that is where another feudal attitude comes in. That this gives the right of life and death in the hands of a feudally run police service. So today you kill a gang rapist, tomorrow you can have somebody else killed who is innocent. Because if the police get this permission of execution
with evidence, obviously.
Well, evidence can be fabricated.
Okay, indeed.
Evidence can be. So, what evidence are you talking about?
I guess when the system's already flawed, how do you expect full justice?
How do you expect that? So that's the point. So, what I'm trying to suggest here is that unless you know what the problem is, the problem isn't that there aren't the laws. There are the laws. You commit such a crime, you can be hanged, you can get life imprisonment. But how is it that you don't get it? Why is it that somebody who commits a crime and runs over a policeman in broad daylight in front of people, and that policeman dies, and you get honorably freed by the court of law when the video is showing your crime? And when somebody else who's a nobody commits a crime and he's beaten and lynched. So what I'm trying to say is that there are no easy solutions to this. There is a wholesale need for understanding, analysis, and remedial social, cultural, and educational reforms required. And the first requirement is that the people's representatives need to bring the rule of law, which creates a degree of parity between the powerful and the weak. Because if you cannot change the structure of society between the powerful and the rich, at least in the eyes of the law,
of course,
that is what you need to do. And if you don't do that, you will carry on reaping the fruits of what you sown.
Thank you so much for your time. If you like the video, Do click like button, subscribe and comment, and we will see you very soon. Thank you so much.